facing the back of the board and go backward. They have to do an inward dive, which is facing the back of the board, and then they dive toward the back of the board. A reverse dive, which is going from the back of the board toward the front and then going in reverse. And then a twisting dive, which can be either from the front of the back of the board, but they have to do at least a half twist. And then that sixth dive, they could do whatever they want to do. So we're ready to start here. Our first diver on the board, that's Kroldy Valise from Lehigh University, doing a forward 2.5 somersault in the pike position. Kroldy's awards: 4s, 5s, and 5.5s. Next up, Hudson Kay from the U.S. Military Academy, forward 2.5 somersault in the pike position. Waiting for the awards for Hudson. There we go. We got some 7s, a 6, 2 6.5s for Hudson on that dive. And next up, Nathaniel Belch, inward 1.5 somersault pike. Sorry, it was a forward 2.5 somersault pike. Instead of inward, he went forward. We got some 8s and 7.5s from the judges. And this is the guy who won the 3-meter on Wednesday, Bradley Buckner, inward 2.5 somersault in the tuck position. Get some pretty high scores there. 7s, 7.5s, and 1/8 from a judge. Good first round score. And now Connor Chidsey from American, forward 1.5 somersault pike. And 5s and 4.5, 1 4.5. Next up, James Nugent, Holy Cross, forward 2.5 somersault tuck.
Award
5.5s all the way through, except one judge gave him a 4.5. Cameron Schofstall from Boston University, forward 2.5 somersault pike. And some 5.5s with 6s and 7s for Cameron. Next up, Timothy LaGracia, Lafayette, forward 1.5 somersault tuck there.
Award 20.0, Michael 51.
4s and 4.5s for Timothy. This is Michael Burke from the Military Academy, forward 1.5 somersault with 1 twist.
Award 42.9.
And he gets 6s and 6.5s from the judges. Nicholas Chevalier from Holy Cross, forward 2 somersaults pike.
Award
4s and 4.5s from the judges. Samuel Beluzzi from Loyola, About to do a forward 1.5 somersault with 1 twist. Samuel scores 5.5s, mostly 6s. Garrett Summer from Bucknell. Inward 1.5 somersault in the pike position.
Award 46.8.
6.5s and 7s from the judges, mostly 6.5s. George Bell from Lafayette, forward 1.5 somersault pike.
Award 24.65.
5s and 4.5s from the judges. Mel Phillips next, Colgate University, forward 1.5 somersault, pike position. So is it inward dive tuck? Sorry, wrong information. Inward dive tuck.
Award 21.0. Andrew.
He gets 5.5s and some 5s from the judges. Andrew Mizell from Army. Forward 2.5 somersaults pike.
Award 50.7. Jake
6.5 from the judges, 1-7. Next up, Jake Hedrick from the Naval Academy. Inward 1.5 somersaults in the pike position.
Award 55.2.
And he gets 8s and 7.5s from the judges. Adrian Halariewicz from Loyola. And a forward 1.5 somersaults with 1 twist.
Award 34.1.
And he gets 5.5s and a few 5s from the judges. Next up, Benjamin Cook from American. Forward 1.5 somersaults, pike position.
Award 25.5.
And a bunch of 5s, a couple 5.5s. Last diver of this round, Thomas Fretz from Colgate. Forward 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position. Thomas dive gets him 6.5s and 6s. And after the first round, it's no surprise, Bradley Buckner leading as we come back to Crowley Velez doing a reverse 1.5 somersault in the pike position.
Award 30.0. Hudson.
And he gets 4.5s and 4s from the judges. Hudson K next from the Military Academy. Forward 2.5 somersaults in the pike position.
Award 55.9.
Big dive for Hudson, 7.5s and 7s. Nathaniel Belch, who was in second place after the first round, now doing a forward 3 1/2 somersaults in the tuck position. Get some high marks there. Sixes and a couple 5.5s. There's Bradley Buckner. Forward 2 1/2 somersaults in the pike position. What's very interesting is to see these divers, the other divers, watching the other dives. It doesn't normally happen. Usually divers are going off in their own little areas to get ready for their next ones. That was 7.5s and 7s and some 8s for Bradley. Connor Chitsey, back dive tuck.
Award 22.5. James 403C.
And he gets 5.5s and 4.5s on that one. James Nugent, inward 1 1/2 somersault tuck.
Award 35.2.
And 5.5s mostly, but a couple of 5s, and one judge gave him a 6. Next up, Cameron Schaufstall, a reverse 2 1/2 somersault in the tuck position.
Award 55.5.
6s and 6.5s. Cameron. Timothy LaGreca, inward dive tuck.
Award 21.0. Michael
5s
51.34.
and a couple of 4.5s. Michael Burke, forward 1 1/2 somersaults, 2 twists.
Award 48.1.
6.5,
403C.
a couple of 6.5s and some 6s. Nicholas Chevalier, inward 1 1/2 somersault tuck.
Award 29.7. Samuel
And 4.5s mostly for Nicholas on that dive. Samuel Beluzzi, forward 1 1/2 somersaults with 2 twists.
Award 29.9. Garrett 404.
4s and 3.5s mostly. Samuel. Next up, Garrett Summer, inward 2 somersaults tuck.
Award 46.2. George 403B.
Some 6s and 5.5s for Garrett. George Bell next. Inward 1 1/2 somersault pike.
Award 30.0.
He gets
Bell,
4s
403C.
and 4.5s. One judge gives him a 3.5. Mel Phillips, inward 1.5 somersault tuck.
Award 28.6.
4.5s, a couple of 5, a 5 and 5.5s. Andrew Mizell, a back 1.5 somersault tuck. Some of the judges, one gave him a 7. Jake Hedrick, inward 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position.
Award 35.65. Adrian 105.
Mostly 4s, 3.5s. Adrian Hilarowitz, 4 2.5 somersaults tuck.
Award 44.4.
6s and 6.5s for Adrian. Benjamin Cook up next. Same dive, 4 2.5 somersaults tuck.
Award
Lower scores, he does 3.5s and 3s.
203B.
Thomas Fretz rounds out the second round of diving. The back 1.5 somersault pike.
Award 39.1.
And 5.5s and 6s.
132D.
So just 3 guys in the hundreds point range, led by Bradley Buchter, Nathaniel Belch, and Hudson Kay. Divers 2, 3, and 4. So actually one other diver too, Cameron Schaufstall.
26.4.
That was Croldy getting 3.5s and 4s on a forward 1.5 somersaults with 1 twist. And now here's Hudson Kay, one of those divers who got to the 100-point range. He's doing a back 1.5 somersault pike.
Award 43.7.
And here's Nathaniel Belch, back forward 2.5 somersaults with 1 twist.
Award 43.2.
4.5s and 4s.
5152B.
1 5 and 1 5.5 for Nathaniel. And Bradley Buchter up next. Forward 2.5 somersaults with 1 twist. That's his highest degree of difficulty dive in prelims. See how he scores with it. 6s and 6.5s.
Connor 301B.
Connor Chidsey, reverse dive pike.
Award 25.5.
Fives and 1 5.5 and 1 4.5. James Nugent now doing an inward 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position. Sorry, inward 2 somersaults. I think I said 2.5. Just 2 somersaults. So it's not a half somersault. They land on their feet, not on their head.
Award 42.0. Cameron.
5s and 1 judge gave him a 6. Cameron Schofstall back 2.5 somersault tuck.
Award 48.0.
5s and 5.5s. One judge even gives him a 6. Timothy LaGreca, reverse 1 somersault tuck.
Award 19.2.
3.5s and 4s. Michael Burke, forward 2.5 somersaults pike.
Award 46.8. Nicholas.
6s, 5.5s from one judge and 6.5 from another. Nicholas Chevalier back 1.5 somersault tuck.
Award 24.0.
And he gets 4s and a couple 3.5s. Samuel Beluzzi back 1.5 somersault pike.
Award 28.75.
4.5s, a few 4s from the judges. Garrett Summer up next. Forward 1.5 somersaults with 2 twists.
Award 42.9.
He gets 5.5s and a couple of 6s, and one judge gives him a 4.5. He's watching the replay on a monitor just behind the diving board there. George Bell did a reverse 1.5 somersaults with a half twist.
Award 22.
Got 2.5s of 4s and a couple of 3s. Mel Phillips, forward 1.5 somersault.
Award 20.8. Andrew.
3.5s and 4.5s in that range. Andrew Mizell, reverse 1.5 somersault to tuck position.
Award 28.35.
And he gets 4.5s. One One judge gives him a 5, another 5.5. Jake Hedrick, forward, 2.5 somersaults, pike position.
Award
7s and 7.5s for Jake in that dive. Adrian Hilarowitz, reverse 1.5 somersault tuck.
Award 26.25. Benjamin 303.
Get some 4s, 3.5s, a couple 4.5s. Benjamin Cook there, reverse 1.5 somersault pike.
Award 26.4.
And he gets some 4s and 3.5s. Final diver of round 3, Thomas Fretz, reverse 1.5 somersault pike. So after this round, Bradley Buchter and Nathaniel Belt still going first and second. And Thomas just got some 6s on that dive. We're into round 4. Crowley Valise, back 1.5 somersault pike.
Award 34.5.
4.5s and mostly 5s for Crowley. Hudson is doing a back 1.5 somersault with 1.5 twist.
Award 52.5.
Big scores, 7s, 7.5s. One judge gives them an
Award 51.0.
and he gets 6s and some 5s and a 7. It's a little varied on that scoring there. Here's Bradley Buchter, forward 3.5 somersault tuck. Say it's one of the better dives we've seen today. Should get pretty high scores. And he does, gets a lot of 8s and 7.5s. So increases his lead over Nathaniel Belch as we go on to Connor Chitsey. Inward dive tuck. And Connor. Still waiting for the scores for Connor Chitsey. There we are, 5.5s and 6s. James Nugent, back 2 somersaults tuck. Almost did not land on his feet. Under rotated there.
Award 14.3.
Got some 2s and 1 3.5 for that one. Cameron Schofstall, back 1.5 somersaults with 1 1.5 twists.
Award 8.75. Timothy 5321.
Oh, we got a couple people gave him zeros on that, but mostly 1.5s and 1s. Yeah, he barely finished the dive. Timothy LaGreca reverse 1.5 somersaults with a half twists.
Award 15.3. Michael 403.
And he gets 2.5s and 3s. Next up, Michael Burke. Inward 1.5 somersaults in the pike position.
Award 54.
7.5s. Couple of 8s for Michael.
Award 22.4.
4.5s and 5s. Samuel Beluzzi. Reverse 1.5 somersault in the pike position.
Award 36.0.
We're going to get some 5s and 4.5s on that one. Like 4 2.5 somersaults.
Award 20.8. George.
2.5s and 3s on that one. George Bell, reverse 2 somersaults tuck.
Award 19.55.
Got some 2s and mostly 3s. A couple 4s. Mel Phillips, reverse dive tuck.
Award 28.
Got some 6s, 5.5s. One judge gives him a 5. Andrew Mizell up next. Forward 1.5 somersaults with 1 twist.
Award 40.7.
5.5s,
305C.
couple 6s and a 6.5. Jake Hedrick now. Reverse 2.5 somersaults.
Award 45.0.
4.5s and 5s for Jake. Next up, Adrian Hilarowitz. Inward 1.5 somersaults in the pike position.
Award 36.0.
And he gets 5s and 5.5s from the judges. Benjamin Cook. Forward 1.5 somersaults with 1 twist. Might be a little confusion as to whether he actually did that twist, full twist, but he got 3s and 3.5s and 4s from the judges. Thomas Fretz closing out the round with an inward 1.5 somersault in the pike position.
Award.
With some 5s and 5.5s. So pretty secure that Bradley Buchter is going to be our top qualifier after diving, and Nathaniel Belch pretty secure, but gets pretty bunched up after that. Remember, 8 guys go to the championship final. Croldy Velez, inward 1.5 somersault pike. It's been very interesting to see the guys hanging out behind the diving boards. You don't see that very often at championship meets. They're off on their own little worlds. 5.5s and 6s for Croldy on his 5th round dive. Now Hudson K, reverse 2.5 somersaults tuck. He's in a position to possibly take over the 2nd spot. Not sure if he's going to be able to do it with that dive.
Award 40.5.
4.5s and 5s for the judges. Next up, Nathaniel Belch. Reverse 2.5 somersaults tuck. The same dive that Nathaniel just did, or sorry, Hudson just did. And he had a better entry, better execution, which gives him higher scores, 6s and 5.5s. And here's Bradley Buchter. A back 2.5 somersault tuck. So instead of going reverse, he's going backward. When you compare it for the previous 2 dives, even though they're going in a different direction, definitely see why he gets a 9 from one judge, an 8.5s from a couple, and mostly 8s from the rest. We still have not seen a 10 here in the competition. Maybe Bradley can bring one to us tonight, or maybe even in the next round. Connor Chitsey, enter 1.5 somersaults. Reverse dive straight. One of the things that judges look at is how well their feet and legs are together, and you can see his feet were apart there, so they definitely deduct for that. And he gets 5s, 4.5s from that dive. Cameron Schaufstall up next. And we're at 1.5 somersaults in the pike position.
Award 44.4.
6s. One judge gave him a 7, a couple 6.5s. Timothy LaGreca, back 1 somersault in the tuck position.
Award 18.0. Michael 203C.
4s and 3.5s. One judge gives him a 5. Michael Burke, back 1.5 somersaults in the tuck position.
Award 33.0.
And he gets 5.5s, 1 6 and 1 5. Nicholas Chevalier back 1.5 somersaults with a half twist.
Award 23.1.
3.5s and 4s for Nicholas. Samuel Beluzzi up next. Inward 1.5 somersaults in the pike position.
Award 46.
Samuel gets some 6s and 6.5s. Garrett Summer up next with a reverse 1.5 somersault in the tuck position.
Award 39.9.
6.5s and 6s from the judges for Garrett. George Bell next. Back 2 somersaults tuck. And as you can see, these divers are pretty friendly with each other. Good to see that. Usually, like I said, they're off in their own world. It's nice to see them kind of just hanging out behind the board, giving each other encouragement.
Award 14.3.
Gets 2s
Bell 201C.
and a 3 and a 1.5 from one of the judges. And he definitely knows that was not his best dive that he could do. Mel Phillips, back dive tuck.
Award 24.75.
And he gets 5.5s,
403B.
2 6s as well. Andrew Mizell. Inward 1.5 somersaults in the pike position.
Award 43.2. Jake
6s and 6.5s for Andrew. One judge gives him a 5.5. Next up, Jake Hedrick. Reverse 1.5 somersaults with 1 1/2 twists.
Award 52.0.
And he gets 6.5s and 7s. Next up, Adrian Hilarowitz doing a back 1.5 somersault in the tuck position.
Award 26.0.
4.5s and 5s. Next up, Benjamin Cook, back 1.5 somersault tuck.
Award 17.0.
Got 3s,
Thomas 405C.
a couple 2.5s, and a 2 from the judges. And rounding out this fifth round, Thomas Fretz, inward 2.5 somersaults tuck.
Award
We got
21.7.
twos, 2.5, and a 3.
Starting round 6, Call B 405C.
And that concludes round 5. One more round to go to determine the placings for tonight's finals. Pretty much Bradley Buckner assured of first place. We'll see how the rest of the placings shape up. As Crowley does an inward 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position.
Award 29.45.
And that's 4s, 3.5s. One judge gave him a 1.5. Hudson K doing a reverse 1.5 somersaults, 1.5 twists. Right now he's ranked in the top 3. Let's see what this dive gives him. 7.5s, a couple 6.5s. Nathaniel Belch, his last dive. And we're 2.5 somersaults. We got 8s and 7s, a couple 7.5s. And here's Bradley Buckner, reverse 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position. No doubt who the top diver is here at the Patriot League Championships. He's going to show it in these scores too. And he gets some 7s, 6s, a couple 5.5s. Solid, well into first place by 60 points. And here's Connor Chidsey. Back 1.5 somersaults with a half twist.
Award 31.5.
4.5s and 5s for Connor to finish up his preliminaries. James Nugent, back dive with a half twist.
Award 30.6.
6s and 5s. One judge gives him a 7. Cameron Schaufstahl, inward 2.5 somersaults tuck. Fives, 5.5s. One judge gives him a 6, another gives him a 6.5. Timothy LaGreca, inward 2.5 somersaults tuck.
Award 15.4. Michael 303B.
1.5s and 2.5s. And I apologize, that was supposed to be a reverse dive. Reverse 1.5 somersaults for Michael Burke. And he gets 6s and 6.5s. Nicholas Chevalier, forward 1.5 somersault pike.
Award
4.5s and 5s. Sam Beluzzi finishes up with 4 2.5 somersaults tuck. 4.5s, 5.5s. One judge gives him a 5. Garrett Summer, back 1.5 somersault in the pike position.
Award 34.5.
5s and 4.5s for Garrett. Round out his prelim competition. He should be back for finals tonight. George Bell, reverse 1.5 somersaults with a twist. Sorry, reverse 1 somersault with a half twist. This is why he landed on his feet.
Award 21.6.
And he gets 4s, a couple 3.5s, and one judge gives him a 5. Mel Phillips, back 1.5 somersaults with a half twist.
Award
4s,
25.2.
and a couple 3.5s. The judge gives him a 4.5. Andrew Mizell on his final dive. Inward 2.5 somersaults tuck. Andrew scores 5s almost across the board, a couple of 5.5s. And Jake Hedrick now back 2.5 somersaults in the tuck position.
Award 45.0.
5s and 5. Setting up now for a back 1.5 somersaults and the half twists. Again, it's great to see those divers hanging out back there, cheering on their competitors, and you don't see that very often. I don't know if that's obviously probably a very common thing in the Patriot League, and it's great to see. 5s, 4s, and 1 5.5. Benjamin Cook now inward 1.5 somersaults pike.
Award 30.0. Thomas 52.
4.5s and 4s for Benjamin. And our final diver, Thomas Fretz. And Thomas will finish up here with scores of.
Judge 2.
Waiting for one more judge.
Award 25.
2.5s and 3s.
Nice job.
So that completes the prelims of the 1 meter diving for the men. And Bradley Buchter well ahead of the competition with 388.05 points. Looks like Nathaniel Belch was second, 328.95.
Third was Nathan Hudson K, 297.70. Was Jake Hedrick, 287.45. Then it looks like after that, Michael Burke, 271.60. Then with 253.30, Cameron Schaufstall. Andrew Mizell, 7th, 248.45. And I believe Thomas Fretz, no, sorry, Garrett Summer, 231.10. Those will be your 8 finalists for tonight. All right, so with prelims complete here on day 3 at the Patriot League Swimming and Diving Championships, let's just remind you what the point scores are for the teams. As you see, Navy there for the women comfortably in first with 338.5 points. And Lehigh running second, but just, about, what is that, 10.5 points behind is Army. And then Boston, Bucknell, and Loyola kind of in a little bit of a battle there. Anything can happen with those 3 teams. And then Colgate, American, Holy Cross, and Lafayette rounding out the top 10. And on the men's side, again, Navy comfortably in first. Army West Point full 109.5 points to be exact, ahead of Boston. And Boston in a nice battle here with Bucknell, who's got 148 points, just 5 points behind. Then Loyola and Lehigh in their own little battle. Then rounding that out is Colgate, American, Lafayette, and Holy Cross. So now we're going to bring you some bonus coverage here of the consolation finals of the men's 1 meter diving. These will be the men who scored 9th through 16th. So we had 19 divers, so all but 3 divers will get a chance to score points for their teams tonight. The 9th through 16th divers will be coming up very shortly. And the divers who scored 1st through 8th, they will be diving near the end of tonight's prelims, or near the end of tonight's final session, so you don't want to miss that. Final starts tonight at 6. And I will rejoin you then. Enjoy the consolation finals.
Any advice? He looks a little mad.
He said he's going to be, if someone's going to be here, I think.
No, did a good job. I think I'm sticking with the seat. That was it.
Which do you want?
Announcing the results for men's 1 meter prelims. In 19th place, Timothy LaVega from Lafayette. In 18th place, George Bell from Lafayette. 17th, Betty Phillips from American. 16th, Mel Phillips from Colgate. And 15th, Nicholas Chevalier from College of Holy Cross. And 14th, Connor Schusley from American. And 13th, James Nugent from College of Holy Cross. In 12th place, Adrian Horowitz from Loyola.
Did you have that aimed and everything?
In 11th place, Goldie Velez from Lehigh. In 10th place, Thomas Retz from Colgate University.
I got splashed.
In 9th place, Sam Paluzzi from Loyola. Top 8,
Okay, I can bring it in. Just towards you.
7th, Andrew Giselle from Army.
And 6th, Cameron Shopstall from Boston. And 5th, Michael Burke from Army. And 4th, Jay Kedrick from Navy. And 3rd, Hudson Kay from Army. And 2nd, Nate Belch from Navy. And 1st place, Brad Buchter from Navy.
Diving event will begin in approximately 5 minutes.
Announcing the dive order for men's 1 meter consolation finals. Diving first from Colgate, Mel Phillips. Diving fourth from College of Holy Cross, James Nugent. Diving fifth from Loyola, Adrian Harlowitz. Diving sixth from Lehigh, Croldy Velez. Diving seventh from Colgate, Thomas Fretz. And diving eighth, Samuel Beluzzi from Loyola. Will the diver that just made a change please report to the table?
Mel Phillips, 401C. Award 20.3, Nicholas, 104B. Award 29.9, Connor, 103B. Award 18.7, James, 105C. Award 44.4, Adrian, 5132D. Award 36.3, Crawley, 105B. Award 44.2, Thomas, 105C. Award 50.4, Samuel, 5132D. Award 38.5. Starting round 2, Mel, 403C. Award 36.3, Nicholas, 403C. Award 24.2, Connor, 201C. Award 14.25, James 403C. Award 36.3, Adrian 105C. Award 43.2, Crawley 303B. Award 28.8, Thomas 203B. Award 24.15, Samuel 5134D. Award 28.6, Mel 103C. Award 19.2, Nicholas 203C. Award 21.0, Connor 301B. Award 25.5, James 404C. Award 40.6, Adrian 303C. Award 27.3, Crawley 5132D.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 117, 118, 1
Award 31.9, Thomas 303B. Award 31.2, Samuel 203B. Award 40.25, Mel 301C. Award 19.95, Connor. Award 39.6, Bill 1A. Award 0, Adrian 203C. Award 33.0, Crawley 4B. Award 37.2, Thomas 405C. Award 2, Samuel 105C. Award 39 points. Starting our sixth round, Mel 52D. .05, Nicholas 103B. Oh, 5. Connor 5231D. Oh, 30.45, James 52A. Award 32.4, 31D. Award 37.405C. Award 35.6523D. Award 0 Samuel 403B. Award 1 That concludes our men's 1 meter consolation final.